the MMA Roadshow, episode number 492. My name is John Morgan, and Cole Coffee is with me today on a non-UFC week Wednesday, bro. I'm talking about cue up the sound effects, the yay, cheer, way. You don't have to go to the Apex day. You get to spend a day at home. As much as we love this sport, as much as we love this job, it is nice every now and then to get what basically, well, I would say is like a vacation week, but we're all still working very much. But it's a nice little change of pace.
Well, when you think about the fact that too, but I literally left that building probably 15 hours ago, something along those lines. So it wasn't like it's been a long time since we've seen the place, but it is refreshing to not have to go right back. Even though I'll be missing out on my dirt updates, like the hard hitting news that everybody really tunes into me for. Which is, it's kind of funny. Speaking of dirt news and Apex news, when we first pulled up yesterday, was the guy still getting arrested out front when you got in there?
No, I got there a little bit later than you did. I saw Alex Buchanan posted a picture of that.
Isn't that funny how some people choose to take a picture and tweet something, and then the rest of us just look at it and then go inside and talk about it, but some feel like I must take a picture and let's put this out. I saw that and I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And I was like, literally, everybody else here in the media room passed that same scene, but none of us decided to stop and take a picture of this guy getting arrested. But I will tell you the backstory of that particular individual.
Oh, you got the story? You got the story?
I got the story. See, some just take a picture and leave it out to the fucking interwebs, but I will tell you the story is that the night before, the guy was found sort of peering and all around like all the copper and all the construction shit at the back of the Apex. They got all those materials. So the guy was scoping out the shit and he got ran off from the property. But in the process of getting ran off the property, he dropped his bag, which had like his phone. Maybe, I doubt he had an ID because I don't remember them. I might be like overstepping and saying that his ID was in it, but had his phone. The guy comes back the next day. And he's like, hey, did you guys find a bag? It's got my phone and my whatever. And they're like, yeah, we got your bag, but if you want to get it, you got to get it back from Metro. Because they called Metro and gave the bag to Metro. So when the guy was there on the ground getting grilled by the cops and arrested or whatever, you could see his bag that was sitting on top of like the hood of the cruiser or whatever. So that's how and why the guy was getting arrested. So he was trespassing the night prior, ran off the property, dropped his shit. The UFC collected it, called Metro and said, hey, this guy was scoping around all of our shit, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy had the brain power to say, I need to go back and get my phone and my shit. And maybe they'll just think, oh, I just happened to drop it on your property, So that's why the guy was getting arrested, because he was trying to scope out some shit.
When he came back to get the bag, did they call Metro and Metro showed up like instantly?
Either I would imagine so. I doubt Metro. They called and said, "Hey Metro, can you bring that bag back to this guy?" I'm assuming they're like, "We have, but you got to deal with Metro." So I'm assuming they had the bag with them. They called Metro while the guy was there, and then they must have came on over or something. So.
I was going to say that shows the power of their relationship, the UFC, with the community and with Metro, right? Because can you imagine if me and you were like, somebody was casing our house or whatever, we called Metro and we're like, hey, Metro, real quickly, let me explain. There's a gentleman that dropped his bag yesterday while he was casing out my house. He's here now, and I'm going to give it back to him, but I want you to come take care of it. Yeah. I mean, like, how many days would it be before it's
not gonna. And even then, they're like, well, first, do you have video reference of him dropping the bag off on your property? Do you have something that we can actually use as evidence? And it's just like, oh, so you want me to do the job for you? You want to have everything. Even like now, that's why they have like, say if your house is getting broken into in Vegas, and thieves don't use this as an excuse to break into places. If you have, say your alarm goes off, unless you video verify that somebody's in your property, Metro won't go out.
So
if my alarm's going off and I call Metro and say my alarm's going off, and they're like, well, did you verify that anybody's in the property? And if I can't say, yes, I see them on camera, they're like, well, we'll get somebody over there to check it out, because they want to take it as a malfunction or an
Right,
erroneous alert as opposed
a false
to
alarm or
something
whatever.
like a false alarm as opposed to something's going on. It's so shitty. But I mean, I get it. Metro's spread thin. There's a lot of other shit going on in Vegas.
We're not picking on them. They got things to worry. There's some crimes they got to worry.
Busy.
But
they're busy.
it just goes to show. I think it just goes to show how far the relationship is with the UFC and the community. You know what I mean? That I'm sure that if they showed Metro that they're like UFC headquarters, we'll be right there. We'll get that taken care of.
And maybe the fact too that since they knew that a live event was going to happen and fans and people were going to be present, maybe they were able to up it a little bit. So they were like, hey, you know, there's a guy that was trying to steal property. Maybe he's going to get violent. We're getting ready to have fans show up to watch a show. Can you please come address this right now? You know, so maybe the safety concern was able to ratchet it up. But I'm kind of leaning on your lines. Like, am I going to make Dana White and the UFC happy in our community? Or am I going to go help Cold Coffee maybe try to track down who was peering into his windows? You know, like I think one's going to get priority over the other.
What do you think? It's funny. I've thought about this before, not extensively, but since you bring it up, Dana from time to time. Oh yeah. Oh, I do that all the time, sir.
I leave the door unlocked for you. You can just come in. It's okay.
So Dana will every now and then post. Well, I want to say more often than every now and then, like post pictures of him getting pulled over, like in his nice sports cars and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do you think he just pays like multiple tickets and has like an insane level of auto insurance, which obviously he can clearly afford? Yeah. Or do you think the police come up to him and they're like, "Oh, Dana, you silly rascal, you like
silly goose, you
slow it down a little bit, buddy. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, but slow it down a little bit. Let's be safe out on those roadways. And hey, what's gonna happen with O'Malley and Dvalishvili anyway? Tell me, you know what I mean? Like,
Dana, I'll let you off if you book a fight that I want to see."
When are we gonna see Connor back, buddy? And I mean, what do you think? Do you think
can we talk about John Jones and the GOAT discussion? I was really watching this conversation last night. Dana.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
I wonder. It's funny when the more you said about it, I wonder about his insurance. Do you think, knowing Dana, I wouldn't be surprised if his insurance and his cars aren't wrapped into some company policy, like those are company cars for some reason. I would be surprised if Dana actually has his own like insurance thing, because I would assume like it's all marketing for the company. When I'm rolling around in my Lambo, I'm representing the UFC. Therefore, the UFC should pay my insurance. But even if I don't see Dana sitting at the table like, should I go to Geico this month or should we switch to to Allstate, honey? What do you think? Allstate.
Have you called the general?
Should I call the general? The Shaq says I can save money. Maybe I'll call the general. Do you think that family ever like price like checks like, when could we get the best deal? The general, Shaq, I trust the Shaq. He can't possibly lie. It was on TV. I think they give me the best deal. Like, it's kind of funny when you think about like super rich people like searching for the best deals. Like, do you go to Smith's because apples are on sale, or do I go down the street to Albertsons because I always go to Albertsons? Like,
yeah. It's actually a fair point. Like I guarantee you, he's just got like an accountant that takes care. Like if you press Dana, who carries your car insurance?
Yeah.
Who's hey, who do you use for? Man, I've been shopping around for a new homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah,
are you happy with your company? Who do you use? Yeah.
It's a silly question.
I have no idea.
It's such a silly idea, but I guarantee, he probably doesn't. And it's like with any of the uber rich, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. You think those guys know who their fucking insurance carriers are, or like, what the last percentage they paid on whatever? Like, hey, my insurance recently went up on my car. What about you, Elon? Did yours go up? Did you get a raise increase? Did you get a raise increase as well?
Hey, let me ask you something, man. Did Cox increase your internet rate as well, man? Did they up you on the unlimited data?
He was so mad that Cox's prices were so bad, he started that whole internet up in space. He was like, I'm going to start launching satellites and create my own internet. Damn you, Cox. Take that.
Oh, that's hilarious, man. Oh, that's good. All right, well, listen, since you touched on it, I love the backstory there. That is wild. It's something I never thought about, but you're right. Like, those construction materials are, like, things that people, like, value, right? They'll rip them out. But a word to potential construction thieves, like there are a lot of cameras on that property, like a whole lot of cameras on that property.
Yeah, I guarantee. So, I guarantee the guy probably thought like, "There's no way they see me behind this building. There's no way they see me. It's dark. There's only, I don't see any cars around." Like, bro, that whole property. I guarantee they probably got cameras facing the space in between the headquarters. I would imagine from the headquarters to the Apex, there is a camera pointed at some particular area covering that whole area. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Dana wanted it to be like a compound. Like there's so much money invested in that company. It is such a production wing, like so much the video libraries housed there, all that other stuff. I guarantee like the level of security, like the cameras, if you go on property or even around the property, somebody knows that you're there. It's not the best, not the smartest area to try to do it.
It's definitely not. And like we talked about it over the years in the past, like I think I would love to see a physical Hall of Fame where like fans can go to and like see artifacts and live the history. And I think that would be awesome. And in that whole campus would be amazing. We talked about the Apex, but obviously the security concerns of like that much foot traffic and that many people around are why they'd never do it.
And you got to make room for the WWE Performance Center. That's going to be tucked in there as well.
Would you take out of that?
His non-answer, he clearly could have been like, I don't know anything about that. That's literally WWE stuff. They do a lot of crazy things. But his whole like, that's not me. I don't know anything. It was just like it was like
he
this
said
whole
that's not my business. That's not my business to talk about.
Yeah, but the way he delivered it was like the total like, yeah, it's gonna happen. Like I mean, it oozed a yes to me. And there's nothing wrong with it.
And it makes all the sense. It makes all the sense in the world, right? If you have these two companies that share so much of resources and ideas and it makes sense for them all to be right there together.
And look how well that NXT event did. Like if there was more room there, it would have sold out. The line was wrapped around the building. I've never seen a line wrapped around the building. Granted, they don't ever have enough room because they don't open up the Apex events for it, and that's why people bitch about it. But it was wrapped around the corner. There were so many people. Like, it makes so much sense. There's so much space there. They could easily expand the actual workout area to include rings that wrestlers could do their stuff. But I think the main thing is like they want to be able to train there, but they want to be able to put on bigger performances there. It makes all the sense in the world. They already rent half the space upstairs to like the NFL when they did their thing. They used the space up there. There's plenty of extra space upstairs that WWE or TKO or anybody could just bring office staff and stay there. Just like over at the PI at the UFC headquarters, there's the staff that just works in the PI, completely housed in just that workout portion. They're not over in the offices where all the editors and where Dana and all the execs are. They're all in that area. And the same thing exists at the Apex. They literally could bring the WWE Performance Center in and, in part of the expansion and have office staff in an area that's completely all on their own. And it wouldn't affect anybody in there right now. Nobody would have to get relocated at all.
Not to mention the fact that they also have that plot of land in between the two properties that if they felt the need to build a completely new structure. I kind of feel like, the pandemic, they talked about the hotel idea. I don't know if anybody's officially said that's never going to happen, but I feel like that idea has been scratched. The need for it isn't there, especially now you got the Durango around the corner and you got the friendly relationship with the Fertittas and all that.
They still keep
but you got
using
that whole
Palace
thing we could build it.
Like
they do.
The
all these years
is
later,
still at the Palace Station. I heard last night. Funny enough, somebody said like the first winner actually went back to the Palace Station and they brought him back in time for the kitchen session. I was like, who let that happen? Like it's not the biggest drive, but it's a decent hike to the Palace Station. You know? But they're still using the Palace Station for all that sort of stuff. I did see somebody say that the back is in fact they are building a parking lot in the back of the building. But like the pathway to get there, they're going to have to build some other like entrance way in, because if they were talking about still being able to come in the current front way, the back entrance is just staff, or like when they used to when they bring in the ambulance, when they bring in that's their clear entrance in and out. They don't want anybody blocking that. In the front, supposedly that would be the route, unless they come up with something else where the cars would route through the front, wrap around the side, and then go park in the back, which creates a huge bottleneck. Doesn't make any sense to not put an entrance in the back. But this person did say that, yes, in fact, they are expanding the parking lot in the back as well. So you see all that sort of stuff. I saw all that dirt and I was like, is that just from the front? But I think they're actually maybe starting to do some stuff in the back as well. I need to be better on my dirt updates in the back, but I literally feel like a creeper if I went in the back because I'm not supposed to be back in that area. It would just be me pulling off to the side. I tried doing it in my car the other day, and the picture didn't come out great.
Like I left my bag here, and I was just wondering if
I swear I'm not here for the copper. I'm not here for the copper. I promise. I just want to take a picture of your dirt.
All right. Well,
it's exciting. It's exciting things. It's exciting, regardless of whatever comes out.
No, it is.
I know people are going to poo-poo on it, but it is neat to see. And I mean, even if wrestling does expand its footprint here, whether you watch it or not, it's another entertainment form that's coming to town. That means jobs. That means other things to possibly cover, some other little things. So it's all a win-win. I mean, if anybody's upset about it, I don't know why anybody would have any upset about it. I can see where somebody in a community, if they might lose a performance center or they might lose whatever, they could maybe be upset or something. I did see, and I just to close on that, Meltzer, who was one of the guys that was talking about this meeting that happened with Shapiro, that the whole talk was based around. I don't think they firmly said that a developmental center would actually move. They just said that I think the correct terminology was that they felt that there could be a bigger presence of the WWE here. So take what it is. So if somebody comes back and says, it never actually came out that a performance center is moving, it could be a lot of just speculation, but there certainly is potential for a bigger foothold here. And we couldn't get it out of Dana last night, but if you watch the video, don't just listen to it audio. Go back and look at his face. The face gives it all. As much as Dana plays poker, he didn't have a good poker face on that one. Like that to me, that his face told the story pretty much. So I'm glad you asked that question. I felt that way. I mean, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, look, we're not WWE or professional wrestling experts by any stretch, but I wouldn't mind seeing, like you said, anything you bring to the Las Vegas community, I'm down for. I know that they have a great presence in Florida, and maybe that presence will stay, and they won't lose that presence. I can understand why those people would be mad, but I am as I plan on being a Las Vegas lifer, I am good for anything that's good for Las Vegas is good for me. So
isn't that something? Las Vegas lifer. I'm with you, though.
That's it, man. I'm
with you, though.
I'm not moving.
People are like, where would you move after? I'm like, I don't know. Like, where would I go?
Where could you? You can't. You can't. If once you've lived here, you can't move somewhere else. If you like it here. Now there may be. I know there are certain people that just don't like Las Vegas, and it's not their vibe, and so there you can absolutely move somewhere else. But if you like Las Vegas and you love the energy and the vibe and the feel here, there's not a lot of places you can go to afterwards.
It's hard. Even on vacation, when I go other places and you just want to like have a bazillion options. It's not like, if obviously money is always an issue, but just having just options of things to do, like, man, it's hard to compare. When I go back home to Columbus now, I'm like, man, this place is just slow and boring, and I love Columbus.
What do here?
What am I going to do? Like, everything shuts down at a certain point in the night, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I love it here. So I'm with you, man. I'm on Team Vegas lifer as well, I think.
Let's go.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. All right, you touched on it, so we got to get to it, right? A lot, and I don't want to minimize because there have been a hell of a lot of great fights over the past few days at the UFC Apex, right? I mean, the fight night this past weekend was amazing. A lot of really good performances there. I mean, obviously Kyle Bohalio in the main event. Michael Morales, I think, really had like a coming out statement for him. He entered into the rankings, so that was great. Dana White's Contender Series, you saw one of the better fights that we've ever seen on the show. You had some incredible knockouts in there. So a lot of great fights over the past few days at the Apex. But it seems to me a lot of the discussion is over the, I won't call it a fight, but the back and forth that went on between Dana White and Kevin Iole in the post-fight discussion last night about the pound-for-pound rankings and where Jon Jones stands in those. I, of course, weighed in briefly with my little point, but it was clear to me that Kevin Iole was the one that was standing on the dais, and I didn't want to take his spot and jump too far into the fray. So I just, kind of interjected my little thoughts. But, I've seen a lot of people saying, amazing job, Kevin Iole. And then obviously you got a lot of people saying, look at Dana White shutting this dude down and shutting him down. So there's all over the place. But I got to be honest, man. I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. I thought in a lot of ways, man, I think we've talked about this over the years that, like, I thought Kevin Iole did a great job of pushing on something that he believed in, that he was passionate about, not just that he wanted to stir the pot, not that just he was trying to get a quote, not that he was just trying to get a viral moment like I feel like a lot of people are, but something that he really felt passionate about and honest about, and he stuck with it, even though Dana does what Dana – I mean, Dana is, one of the biggest – he is the biggest voice in the sport, you know what I mean? And he's – obviously – I think I see a lot of times we've all seen it over the years, especially if you're not familiar with Dana or you haven't interviewed him a lot. It can be intimidating, and somebody might ask a question and then they back down. Kevin didn't back down. Kevin even stood up for himself where he said, "Hey, please don't talk over me." You know what I mean? Let me get my point in, and Dana allowed him to do that. And I don't know, man. I quite enjoyed the exchange. And I think a lot of people think there were like kind of hard feelings. I guarantee you, there's no hard feelings between those two guys. Those two guys have worked together for years.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, the reason why that was able to happen the way it was, and I enjoyed it as well. There's a couple times I found myself just chuckling and then also like chuckling like, I can't believe this is still going on. There's a lot of mutual respect and friendship between those two that they're able to bicker like that and get their points. I guarantee if Dana didn't respect Kevin and didn't like Kevin, if Kevin was like, "Can you let me get my point?" If it was just somebody else and Dana, it was in one of his moods, could have easily been like, "Well, I don't really care what the fuck you think," like blah 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 blah.
It's true.
Like he backed off and he's like, "Okay, you're right," and say your little thing. I guarantee that conversation has happened in some bits offline, and there was even a point where it had towards the end where it had been going on a little bit when Kevin was like, "Well, we could probably end this. We could take this offline or whatever." But you could see that Dana was like, "Well, we could still go if you want. Like I'm fine talking about this." I thought it was good. I thought he pushed where he needed to push, but it didn't feel like you could tell when somebody's trying to just be edgy and stir the pot because you could kind of hear it in their voice where there's a little faltering. There's almost like attitude. There's almost like a waveringness because that you're testing the waters. Kevin was very solid in his delivery. He was very strong in his opinion. You could tell that this is something that he's thought about a lot and that he has discussed with other people a lot. So when it came out right now, he was very clear in his thought. He had his options. He had his references. Everything was sort of in line. It wasn't like, oh, but well, this, like everything was right there in the front of his head. So you could tell that this is something that was very, important to him and something that he's thought about a lot. And obviously Dana's been ridiculed and joked about it a lot because people just say, "Oh, well, you just think this and then you don't really back it up. It doesn't make any sense." But Dana had his points too. Dana, I thought, was very clear in his definition and his defining as well. I mean, I think you're going to find people on both sides, and I don't think either guy swayed anybody from the other side to their particular way. Like, if you didn't already think that John was the GOAT, I don't think by hearing just the fact of the activity, you're like, well, you're right. I don't think he's the best of all time anymore, or whatever. But I think they can still, in that point, when you hear the discussion, you're like, that's a good point. I never really thought about the activity. In my head, I do think John is the greatest of all time. But when you start bringing the activity, okay, maybe I'm willing to say, okay, he was greatest then, and right now maybe it's not the same situation, but I think most people just want to say, this is my greatest right now, and I'm just going to sit with this guy right now. And they don't think about the activity. They don't think about the rankings. They don't think about, hey, after a year, we need to pull them out of this discussion. That's an interesting point that came out that I don't think a lot of people think about. I certainly don't think about it when people say, like, well, if you've been inactive for a year, you should be removed from the rankings, and Dana was trying to go out there and really make a point about, well, you can't say he was inactive. He had a fight. He came back after he had definitely had the long layoff. Then he fought Cyril. So at that point, he was trying to say, well, he came back from inactivity, but then he destroyed the guy that everybody was saying, this is the guy that possibly could take the belt. So then in Dana's mind, that's like, okay, well, that built him up a lot of credit. Then he wanted to try to get another fight, but then he got injured. He signed up and then he got injured, and then he was recovering, and then it was taking time to get this fight. So in his mind, he's like, well, the inactivity question, while it was one thing before, in his mind, he's like, he's been signed up for a fight. He got injured. He did his fight. You can't say he's inactive because he has a fight lined up. He has an injury he's been dealing with.
And I love what you said, because this is what resonated with me, and I thought about it afterwards, and I need to follow up. And it's funny because now I say I want to follow up with Dana on it, but I feel like this discussion has been had so much, it's almost like not worth having anymore. because I started to weigh in with this, but then it shifted towards more of discussion of why is the Stipe fight happening and all that, and that's a completely separate discussion. Which I'll be honest with you, I actually do side with Dana White on the side 100%. Of why John Jones versus Stipe is happening.
I'm fucking Stipe all goddamn day, like Ohio guy, but he's right. Like, let Stipe get his fight and walk out. Let him have his exit. I'm
100% with that.
Dana said. Yep.
And I don't think the fact that John is fighting Stipe instead of Aspinall should have impacted his ranking. Like, that doesn't matter. That's the fight that's booked. But I thought about this afterwards, and I think this is where maybe a little bit of the disconnect is. I think Dana is right in the point and let me be honest, and I've stated it before, but just for the record for anybody that hasn't listened to us before, I do believe, and I said it last night, I do believe John Jones is the greatest of all time. I don't believe he's the number one pound for pound fighter right now. But here's where I think maybe some of the disconnect is. What Dana was arguing about why John Jones is an active fighter, I think maybe what he meant is like that he thinks we're suggesting that John Jones shouldn't be in the rankings right now because he's not active, and that's not what anybody is saying. What we're saying is that you should slide down the list a little bit when you can't match the activity of those around you, right? So not saying that he's been inactive to the point that he needs to be pulled out of the rankings, but that, I keep a spreadsheet, right? I keep a little spreadsheet. You've seen it before of how I do my rankings when I submit it. I did them when I did it for Junkie. That's how they started. And I keep them now that I do UFC rankings. But when you put these guys side by side, I mean, just real quickly, Islam Makhachev in the last 3 years, Dustin Poirier, Alexander Volkanovski twice, Charles Oliveira, Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, Alex Bejeda, Yuri Prohaska, Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska, Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Bruno Silva, Andres Michailidis, Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Robert Whittaker, Derek Brunson, Darren Till, Brad Tavares. I mean, you can go on and on with Sean O'Malley, with Ilia Topuria. The last 3 years for John Jones just says Cyril Gane, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's it. So that's where I think maybe a little bit of the disconnect is in that maybe
I did like Dana sort of saying about the underweight class though, like with Volkanovski. He's like,
he's like, I fought a guy that was down.
Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, you're what you just said about Islam is completely, totally right, and it's like, how many times has he won against a lightweight in the past 2 years? And it's like once. Oliveira was October 22nd, 2022. You had Poirier June 1st, 2024. All of 2023, he never fought anybody in his division. And half of...
It's a fair argument.
So I can almost see where Dana was like...
Fair argument.
That's a year and a half almost right there where he didn't fight anybody in his division. So it's like... And
you could come back and say, well... But he was Volkanovski was a top pound for pound fighter 100%. At that moment.
And he was a current champ in another division.
But it is an argument to make, right? Yeah, but he was moving up, so all you did was beat the smaller guys.
I did like how he brought that up, though. So what that told me was that Dana was in fact thinking about Volkanovski, was thinking about Makhachev, and he wanted to have counterpoints to what people were saying about as well. So if anything else, I was wooed by both. I was amazed by both guys. Both guys had their stories. So it was interesting. It was good. But I loved, I felt like that was the first time hearing Dana back up his thought in depth. Before it was always more like, well, come on. Well, who else is, guys? Like, I mean, can anybody in the fucking room tell me that it's not John Jones? Like, and why? For it to actually get pushed back and then to hear him sort of actually start to pull out some defense of it. I was just like, well, hey, that's a good point, Dana. I was like, hey, that was a good point. I was like, that's.
I thought it was a fun discussion. I think you just nailed it. I think the reason Kevin decided to finally push back, because we've been having this conversation for months and months and months, but we've all just kind of touched on it briefly, right? But I think it was when Dana went, because I believe the exact line was, "Are you guys this fucking stupid that you think John Jones isn't number one?" I think that's when Kevin was like, "Okay, buddy, if you're going there, it's time to talk it out." We're going. Go. Yeah, I mean,
he's like, "I'm in the room now too, dog."
Let's go. But I enjoyed the discussion.
It was great.
It was fun.
And as much as people might, whatever, Kevin deserves credit. You deserve credit jumping. Even Alex, who I think helped even push that out there and ask something about it. I think he helped tee it off or something.
Yeah, he's the one that threw the joke out. It deserved
credit. It was a good discussion. I thought it was great. But, I mean, in my mind, both sides defended themselves well. If I was a judge, I would be. I don't know if I was swayed by either one, but I would think that both lawyers defended their points validly.
I think round one on the pound for pound discussion, I go Kevin Iole 10-9. round two on the whether or not we should be doing John and Stipe, I go Dana White 10-9. Yeah. So I guess we're 19-19 heading into the third, and we'll just got to tee that up and figure out what happens. But I did want to point out that yes, to me, like guys, if you want to have discussions with Dana, I thought Iole showed you exactly how to do it. He nailed it. He was firm in his stance. You thought about it. He was well thought out. He made valid points. Was not argumentative, but was also assertive.
Was
also assertive in his belief.
Didn't make it a fight. He made it. He kept it a discussion. Both sides kept it a discussion. Even though Dana, of course, starts strong with his words, they both kept it clean. They both kept it to the point. It was good. Like. It was amazing. It went, but I was really surprised. It went on 3 times as long as I thought it would. I was like, wow, well, they are still going at it, And the whole time I'm thinking, like, this is going to be a great clip. In fact, I might, after this later on today, I was thinking about going back in and just maybe taking a little bit of that discussion to put a social, like a short on YouTube or doing some other stuff. little
pieces of it.
Yeah, I mean.
And point out there will be no repercussions. There will be no hard feelings. Those two guys, I thought you nailed it too. They have a lot of respect for each other, a lot of friendship for each other, and that was just a healthy discussion between two guys that have known each other for a long time. And I guarantee you, there's no hard feelings whatsoever. So
they probably talked today and laughed about the whole damn thing. And Dana was probably like, "I bet you motherfuckers got a lot of clips on me last night." And Kevin's like, "Dana, that's not me. That's not me. That's those guys." But.
Exactly. That's it. All right. Well, we've gotten that out of the way. Now let's get to, and I know you're on a limited time frame, but let's get to the important news of the week, of course. It is an off week for fighting, but that does not mean that the world of combat sports does not have blockbuster matchups being put together. Of course, I'm talking about Hot T Oscar Willis and Ben Davis at Bare Knuckle.
I'm trying to pull up Tapology. I was like, what am I forgetting?
BKFC 67. We know they're going to be fighting in Spain on October 12th. Look, there's going to be a lot of discussion about this matchup. Those two guys have very strong presences on social media. I know they will not need us to help promote their bout because they will do a fantastic job of doing that themselves. But, what exactly is the role in camp for Cold Coffee? Are you taking the lead trainer responsibilities here for Oscar Willis? Because we'll peel back the curtain a little bit. The matchup has been in the works for a while, and there may have been some pre-training camp going on. And the Strong Coffee gym over there has got the Oscar Willis banner over there. You know what I mean? You're bringing in training partners. I'm pad sessions I'm hearing about. Some strength and conditioning. So what exactly can you tell us about the role that Cold Coffee is playing in the camp of Oscar Willis?
It's a bit of a hybrid. No, it's funny. If anything else, it's a non-official role, but because he's got his corner. I don't want to put out. He's sort of already saying who his corner is, but I don't want to say who he's going to have corners. But he's going to have some legit corners for him. What I'm providing is a little bit. I would say, if anything, I was partially a strength and conditioning and fitness, and because we already, me and Hot T already work out all the time. But once he said, like, man, I think I'm gonna do BKFC, and I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, that's stupid. But since you're gonna do it, I'm like, all right, well, let's try to do it. So we've been lifting anyways. But what we've shifted now is, as opposed to like before, where it was about like strength and bulking and like actually just trying to get stronger, about now is not doing anything that will actually strain him or injure any muscle. So now we're working on lower weights, more reps, more explosiveness, more high intensity, so that we could push him to where he's actually getting tired, but being able to work through that tired. So yesterday we did 10 rounds of mitts. In between that, he was doing shadow boxing, and then we did some core stuff. It was like fucking. I put the Rocky theme on the radio,
so
we can just play Rocky. And then we did a couple sessions, like a little circuit where he let me tee off on his midsection because he had heard that Bane said he wanted to go after his stomach or like hit him, go for the body shot. So I put some gloves on and was just sort of peppering up his midsection for some times and stuff. But it's all literally, I'm just providing him work. I want to give him, we know Oscar has an idle mind, and idle mind will get him in trouble. So I'm trying to help give him focus and give him an outlet and it allows me to work out as well. So if anything, I'm partially, I would say I'm his unofficial strength and conditioning coach. He has guys that are doing technique. I wouldn't say I was technique, but we do hold mitts, but I am not a great mitt holder, but I can hold a mitt and we can get work in. We've been doing this long enough between me and him that, we can do work. Like if Eric Nixick or like Bob Perez looked at my shit, they'd be like, "Oh, son, get out of there. Let me step in there. Like, what are you doing?" But but he has boxing. He's doing some boxing tonight at Extreme Couture. So he's going to Extreme Couture for technique and actually getting sparring and other stuff.
Well, that's not a bad secondary spot to have. I mean, yeah.
But it's been fun for me because I've always kind of just enjoyed, even when we just did the regular strength lifting here, one for myself. I used to be really into it when I was younger, when I was in much better shape. But now when we've worked out here, it's just been fun using it as an avenue and just letting the brain think about, oh, let's try this. And then once you start seeing gains, then you're like, well, fuck, let's really start doing it. And so now when he's like, oh, well, we got this fight thing. Well, for me, I'm like, well, this is fun. We can do other workouts that I've always thought that somebody in a fight camp might want to try to do, or something where you're building your strength. And hopefully it's not anything completely wrong, but mainly we're just working him out. We're getting him to where he's pushing himself, doing cardio and fitness, and not so much worried about bulking up and hitting max reps or anything like that, because we don't want an injury this far out, or this close to a fight. But it's fun, dude. I'm proud of the dude, man. He's fucking nuts, man. Why bare knuckle is just ridiculous. But I will tell any of you people out there, as much as I love Hot Tea, Ben Bain, and I know you could say this as well, Ben does his work, folks. Ben trains, He does his work. This is not an easy fight for Hot Tea. I know there were some media guys last night that were like, oh, man, Oscar's going to whoop up. I was like, bro, I hope so. I like you, Ben, but like Oscar's my boy. Like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure he's ready. But I know for a fact Ben is not going to shortcut any shit. This is a serious fight, folks. This is a legit fight that's going to happen. And that's what I want to help prepare Oscar to be ready for, a real fight.
I was going to say, and Ben's going to be the naturally bigger guy, right? I think I called Oscar's. We know the fight's going to be at 155. I called Oscar's amateur debut at Tough Enough, which, of course, you were there. I believe that was at 155 as well. Meanwhile, Ben Davis, I called his grappling debut. I think that was at 180, if I recall. But but that was more on Brad Boland's side, I believe.
He was the heavier of the two.
Yeah, I think he wanted to do it there. So Brad Bolton wanted to be the one at 180, I believe, if I recall that correctly. But I think the boxing matchup with Gabriel Silva was also at 170 as well. So
what about the karate combat thing that he did?
I'm not sure. I can't remember the weigh-in, but I know I think he's usually 170. So I think he's gonna have to cut some weight,
I told people, I was like, dude, like, as much as you want to say about whatever, like, you think Ben's just this lighthearted, crazy personality, I was like, the dude does work, man, and he's fought in things before. Like, he's pushed himself. He's not afraid to go in there, and he's going to be more than willing to walk straight forward and throw punches at Oscar and take punches, man. Like, this is a legit, and the fact that the guys are like, screw the gloves, let's just go. You got to think about, like, not trying to break your hand, throwing too hard and doing other stuff. And that's what, we were sort of speculating why he wants to go to the body. Because if you break your hand immediately, you're pretty much, I'm like, these are not fighters that are willing to work through the pain. Like, they break their hand, it's done, folks. Like, but you have like Diego Sanchez, he breaks his hand. He's like, he don't give a fuck. He'll hit you with his palm anyways. It doesn't matter. He'll slap you. These guys got to watch for those sort of things. So it'd be interesting in the gameplay and stuff. So we've been trying to find ways. I'm like, bro, like, how do we toughen your knuckles? Let's blah, 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 do other little sort of stuff. So, I'm stoked, dude. I'm stoked for it. But mainly out of me, it just gives me another reason to kind of get in the gym and work out. But yeah, in about an hour or so, he's going to come over, and I think we're going to do some strength and conditioning and probably maybe a little bit. I don't think we'll do mitts because he's got boxing later on. So probably just burn him out, get him a good sweat and stuff. He's been doing like 2-a-days, man. He's working it, man. Awesome. He's taking it serious, and I'm glad. I'm proud of him. It's keeping him out of the bar. It's keeping his head on straight. And it's giving him some focus. It isn't making him show up for more work events, but he's at least doing this, and he's focusing. I was surprised he showed up last night. I was like, oh, you're going to actually come to the place that's 3 minutes from your house? I tease him because I'm like, bro, the event's 3 minutes from your house. Are you going to come to this fight night? And he's like, nah, I don't think so. And I was like, oh my God, dude, it can't get any closer to your house. Like, just go down the street and cover this event. But I'm glad to see him. He's super focused on this, and I know Ben's going to be super focused. And I told Oscar last night, and I was like, you think you're training hard? I guarantee Ben's training harder right now than you to kick your ass. So what are you going to do about it? You know?
Wow.
We're taking it serious over here at the Strong Coffee Gym.
I love it. Well, plenty of time until that fight happens, but obviously we got to throw it out there and get it on the radar because we will be big supporters of that. So listen, speaking of schedules coming up, I know you've got to run. So what I want to do now is play an interview that I had with Gilbert Burns. He's headlining next week. I did this for Grind City Media. I appreciate Cold Coffee for letting me plug my work over there as well. If you're not signed up to the podcast over there, Cage Side with John Morgan, please sign up for that. Or if you want to check out the YouTube channel as well, all those things air over there. That's the other place that I do some talking about MMA with Eric McMahon normally as my interview co-host. So you may have seen Eric McMahon as a referee last night at Dana White's Contender Series, but I also do some one-on-one interviews on my own over there. And so this one is up on YouTube if you want to check out the video version. But I thought as a nice little tease, we play it over here as well and keep you updated on some of the stuff that's happening over at Grind City Media. So thank you to Cold Coffee for allowing me to plug that work here. And here is my conversation with Gilbert Burns. It is the UFC's number 6 ranked welterweight, Gilbert Burns, and he is back to work on Saturday, September the 7th, headlining against the number 8 ranked Sean Brady. So, Gilbert, let's just start there, man. 6 months, it's been away. I know you'd probably like to fight every week if you could. So just talk to me about the excitement, where you're feeling about, getting ready to get back to work.
Oh, super excited to be back, and I just had a little small injuries. It's kind of like being a little bit more frequent now, getting small injuries. But whenever I was healthy, I talked to the UFC, and we want to do Sean Brady. And I say, where? And they say, oh, we don't know yet, but it's a fight night main event. I say, okay. And they say, we don't know if it's going to be Apex or not. And I say, okay. And then we signed the fight, and then it was still like no place yet. And then it was TBA, and then eventually they say, okay, it's going to be in the Apex. So we're kind of, for this moment right now, I like it. For sure, I love the big arenas. The pay-per-view is amazing. But, yeah, I like it. A main event spot, Apex, a little bit more intimacy. Coach going to be there. It's like a nice sparring session. We a little public in there with the small gloves. Yeah, I missed that a little bit, so it's going to be cool.
I love it. Yeah, you mentioned the Apex. It's the first time that you fought there since the Usman fight, which, it's very different now. That was obviously in the heart of everything, and so it was crazy. Have you been back there? Have you cornered anybody or gone to a fight or anything? Have you been in the Apex since that fight?
Yeah, I was there when Luke had fought Bilal, when Luke had lost to Bilal. I was there. I haven't cornered that much on the Apex, to be honest. But I think it was the first fight of the Apex. When I fought Woodley, I think that was the first Apex fight. And then I fought Usman there, corner. I was there for Luke. I was there a couple of times. Yeah, but haven't been there in a while, to be honest. I was there for Power Slap, one of those Power Slaps that they were there. But yeah, I haven't been there in a while. You're right.
Those are crazy. Those are just like parties, man. That's like
those are fun. People hate on that a lot, but those are fun. I went there live, and these guys are crazy. I don't want to get slapped. I don't want to get paid to get slapped like that on the face. But that's fun. If the dude is on, man, it is fun.
It is fun. All right, well, let me say this before we talk specifically about your fight. It's a big month for the Show Me the Money podcast, by the way, right? You got September 7th, and Renato Moicano's got September 28th. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a podcast in history that had 2 UFC headliners in 1 month, man. That's got to be history.
It is big. It's crazy. I don't think we're recording this week because I'm working hard. Moicano's working hard too, so I don't think we have a part for this week. Next week, he's back home. But, yeah, Pod is doing great, And then besides that, we're still doing my own YouTube. Moicano too, we do YouTube in Portuguese, YouTube in English. So yes, it's a lot of work behind the scenes.
I love it, man. You guys are both deserving of it. You both do a great job, man. So I know you recently celebrated a birthday, but I also saw that you pointed out, and I didn't even realize it, man. 10 years in the UFC as well, man. That is a hell of an accomplishment, man. To be at the highest level of the sport for a decade is very difficult. So what did it mean for you to kind of celebrate that moment and say, man, I've been here for 10 years?
It's cool, but on the same time, I'm getting freaking old, but, but it's cool, especially the way that people get to know me more, the fans and everything. They know that I was fighting anyone, still fighting anyone. We got a lot of ups, couple of downs. It happens to everybody, but yeah, people remember that. I still want to remember to becoming a champion. I'm still chasing that. I want to become a champion. I'm 2 wins away. September 7th, we'll make that first step, beat Sean Brady, then another big name, and then we get this title shot. And also, I want to be recognized as the guy that fights everybody, fights anyone and anywhere, and kind of getting that love back. It's amazing, getting the fans crazy, and the very easy relationship that I have with the UFC. Like we want to make Sean Brady. And they say, guys, know I'm going to say yes, right? But they want to push for July. Just no, July. I'm just getting a couple injuries. I'm getting free. Push it forward. I like the fight. And they say, September. Say, perfect. Let's get done. It's kind of like easy relationship with the UFC, with the fans. So I like it. So far, 10 years, very good. But still got, I don't know how long more. I still got a couple more fights in me. So we're not here for a long time. But I still got a couple more good fights. I mean, not a lot, not 2 hands full of fights, but we still got at least 1 handful of fights in there.
I love that. That's a great way to describe it. We'll definitely make sure we're going to join them. You said 6 months, kind of healing up some small injuries. I guess just talk to me. The Jack Della Maddalena fight, what did you take out of that? Lessons? I mean, thoughts on it? Have you put it behind? Does it still bother you? What's the focus been?
To be honest, that was easy one to swallow. Like when I was watching the fight, I will watch it. I'm crazy about it. I lost the fight. I just want to watch the fight as quick as possible because a lot of things on my mind, but it's not the whole fight, And then I was kind of, man, I fought so bad. Then and I got caught. And then when I was looking, I said, oh man, I actually did good. I actually hit that guy with a nice elbow, took him down a couple of times. I was kind of controlling. I don't like to say I was winning because I lost. So it's I was winning, but you lost. So I wasn't winning. I think I was doing very good. And then he got me. But a couple things that I could have done better. I think the striking he hits very hard. He's one of the hard hitters in 170. He got me very uncomfortable the way he hit me. And I even saw he didn't throw a bomb, but he just put out there. And I'm like, man, that guy hits hard. He got me a little bit out of my game a little bit. Then I decided to grapple wrestle a lot more. But the guy did great. It's like I did a lot of good things, make a couple bad decisions. And one of those bad decisions, he capitalized. That was and I'm a fan of the sport. That was a beautiful knee. He timed it good, finished with a great ground and pound. It is what it is. I could be worse if like my personal life, my spiritual life wasn't going in a different direction because that was the first time in my career that I have 2 losses in a row. But I'm in peace, it's kind of like I swallow, was the Bilal fight was way harder because it took me 4.5 to 5 months to come back to train. And I'm the type of guy that I made that mistake on the fight. Maybe on the locker room, I'll come back and I say, hey, what can I do better? Let me see what I did a mistake. I got back to the gym next week, and then I want to get that, right that wrong and get back. But with that Bilal fight, I was injury, and the ligament was kind of tingling on my shoulder, so I couldn't do anything for almost 3 months. And then that was the hard one. But the Jack, I was just let me see. I watched a couple of times and say I could have done that better. Yeah, I messed up right here, but he did great. It is what it is, part of the game. So it's kind of way easier to get through that.
It's so important that you talked about though, what's going right outside of fighting, right? As fighters, it's so easy to make your whole who you are as a person, your entire life around the fighter and the results. And there's so much more to life than what happens inside that octagon.
So much more. And then we as a fighter, we do have the addiction, you know. We love the adrenaline to be there to win, and that dump, that the adrenaline dump is the best when you win and it's over and you're celebrating and put your raise your arm. This is that everyone's addicted to, you know, like those. Oh, I want to fight again. No, we just want to have that feeling again. So, and I've been there, I've done that, so I kind of learning a little bit what I'm missing. And right now, I miss fight. You know, I want to fight. I want to go out there and put in the work. Learn a lot on the, especially the last two fights. You know, the Bilal fight and the Jack fight was a lot of learning. But now it's time to execute. You know, I'm confident. I like the matchup. Sean Brady's a tough dude, but I'm looking forward to go there and finish this guy. You know, I really believe, we. I'm number 6, number 8, but I do believe I'm finishing this guy and put on a finish on him.
It's a big fight, like you said. I mean, it's 2 top 10 ranked guys. How do you evaluate him, right? Because I mean, Sean's a great guy, man. He came through the CFFC system, you know what I mean. So I've gotten to see a lot of his career up close. But he struggled to stay active, right? I mean, he's had some injuries, he's had some illness. So how do you evaluate him? Because I mean, there's not, I guess, a lot of recent tape on him. You know what I mean? Things can change, as you know, tremendously. So how do you evaluate a guy that really hasn't been competing frequently?
Yeah, I think for sure he's got better. You know, for sure he's improving. He's still young. But when I kind of watch his fight, it's a little path that he has. You know, he's getting more comfortable to striking, but always have that takedown, a good left hook. I can watch a lot of the things and get a couple. Okay, this he would like to do. That's why he don't like it. So still a lot of things to study, and I have a couple of teammates that trained with him before, so I kind of know a little bit what to expect. But I'm expecting the guy for sure to be better, put a little more tools. I expecting the best guy, you know. Even me, I like to expect a monster. I'll be ready for that monster. You go there, it's not that monster, it's easier, right? But I don't like the other way around. You think it's gonna be an easy fight and you face a freaking monster, that's when you get frustrated and things. So I'm looking forward. I'm waiting for a monster to come on the other side, but I still think I'm finishing that monster.
I love it. You know, welterweight has a fresh feel to it right now, obviously. I guess first let me start there. Bilal Muhammad wins the title. You spent 25 minutes with him. Did you expect him to win the title? Were you picking him to win that fight?
I did. I did that on my YouTube channel. I do a couple of breakdowns in that I did. And before I start doing it, I thought Leon's gonna win. Then like maybe 3 weeks before the fight, a month, I would start looking more and I say, okay, if I'm Bilal Muhammad, what I gotta do to beat Leo? I say I gotta go forward, gotta make a dirty fight like freaking Randy Couture back in the days. You gotta go forward.
Yeah.
And then when I start thinking like that, and then I was watching his fights against me, against Luke, against Waterboy, and then like, man, he can adjust. You know, every fight he fights a little bit different, depends on the opponent. I think he can do that. And then whenever I started looking at his stuff, I saw that he was showing with Khabib, and Khabib helping him with the game plan. I said, if Khabib is helping him, for sure he's gonna do this and he's gonna do good. You know, that's when I like, okay, I think Bilal is gonna win. Then I started studying both guys, watching tapes and watching the training strategy, and I say, okay, Bilal is gonna win. You know, so if he's still a tough fight, but if he does that, he's gonna win. That's when I think it was one of the few guys that picked him to win.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing performance. Boy, when he got that takedown in the opening minute, you were like, oh, okay, it's going to be that kind of.
Yeah.
That's it. So what do you want to see? I know you're a fan at heart, but it impacts your career as well. So what do you want to see for his title defense? I mean, he's talking about Shavkat, your guy Usman's in there as well. Like, what do you think should be the fight for him?
I think Usman needed one more fight. You know, guy comes from 3 losses. Okay, he was number 1 pound for pound or whatever, but 3 losses at 3 losses, you know. I think he's doing good. Kamar just go there talking a little bit, get people interesting, but I think Shavkat is next. Even though Shavkat beat Wonderboy in his last fight, but the way, you know, he was able to sub that guy second round, I don't know, 16, 17 wins, all by finish. He's like, yeah, he's very hard to do it. So, yeah, I think Shavkat is next, I think. And then we all in the mix, you know. I think Kamar needs 1, maybe 2 more wins. He needs to look good on his next fight. So do I. I think me beating Sean Brady and beating Kamaru or Kobe or Leon, I'm out there. So yeah, we all gotta work. I think Shavka is kind of like leading the run, but leading the race. But other than that, everybody gotta work.
It's fun though, right? I mean, anytime you get a new champion, I think we all like having dominant champions, but when you get new champions and then you get new contenders, like there's a lot of fresh matchups now, right? It kind of makes the division exciting.
Sure. Especially those guys that are not gonna hold the belt, those guys that are not gonna sit down and wait, and that's why I kind of like Bilal as a champion because he's not gonna sit down and wait so much as Leon was doing. Or Leon was already talking about next belt, this and that. I think Bilal has the right mindset to like, you know what, let me beat all these guys, let me beat the number one welterweight. And I like that. I like that. He's gonna fight Shavka, and then we'll see who's gonna be next. Is a lot of guys that Mayweather or William gonna be on the conversation. We got Ian Gary down the conversation. Let's see Kamaru if he fights anyone. Leon, let's see how this guy's gonna do it. And even for Leon doesn't fight that much, but he gotta fight. If you want to take that belt back, he need to get a fight that open up more. If Kamaru wants to fight for the title, he needs to fight. So then finally we get the division moving.
I love it, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Well, it all kicks off on September 7th. Like you said, this is a big matchup. I guess it's a mixed martial arts fight. Anything can happen. Part of me wants to see you two guys grapple because I know the jiu-jitsu would be incredible, but then I also know you, and you like to just go out and throw down and have wars as well. So as you play this thing out, I mean, do you see this thing going one way or another? I know that you feel you can fight anywhere, but do you see a certain style playing out here?
I think we're going to grapple. People are going to, I think people are not going to believe that we're actually going to grapple. I think he wants to grapple. I think I want to grapple. And I think we're going to grapple. I don't think he's going to change much. I don't plan on changing much, just getting sharp, putting a little new tools. But yeah, it's going to be the same guy for sure. If when I'm throwing down on the feet, I'm trying to finish him. But if I saw he had good defense, that's he actually does. He got good movement. Let me stick these guys down. Let's see. Let's test that jiu-jitsu. I think. I don't think he's afraid of my jiu-jitsu. So do I. I'm not afraid of his jiu-jitsu. I think that's what going to make this fight very exciting.
I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be a hell of a fight. All right, well, you get a break from the podcast for a little bit. You and Moicano go out and pick up some main event wins, then get back to the podcast ASAP because you guys are great together.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having fun. Then I got to go there and do one CFFC with you. That's going to be fun too. I'm going to put my name there. I'm there next one having fun with you guys.
I love it. We were trying to make that happen before he got his main event book, so we're going to get that in the future, man. So awesome.
Let's do it.
Awesome, Gil. Brother, I appreciate the time as always. We'll see you out here in Vegas in a couple weeks, and we'll talk soon after that.
I see you there, John. Have a good one, brother.
All right, that was Gilbert Burns. Dorino, always love talking to him. Cold Coffee, I'm sure we'll get to speak to him at Media Day. We've got the big fight coming up. We get to enjoy the weekend this weekend. We get to have a little fun, maybe relax a little bit, but then we get right back to it. How about that? The Apex and then the Sphere, man. All the talk about the Sphere. We actually get to see everything play out. I'm pumped up. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm fired up for the Sphere. I cannot wait for that event. Am I alone in that one? Or are you equally fired up for that?
I'm fired up.
All right, I want to make sure it wasn't just me, man.
I'm fired up.
I know people talk about the car. We'll talk about all that. We got time. So listen, everybody, look, enjoy your weekend off. We don't get a lot of these in the world of MMA. Obviously, none of us know what to do with ourselves on Saturday because we love this combat sports game. But, go out, enjoy the family a little bit, have a good time. But more than anything, first and foremost, thanks for listening.